Sarah Schupansky, welcome to the Soccer Queens podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I am just so grateful you wanted to come on because I have so many questions about your childhood, going through the recruiting process, your experience playing for Pitt women's soccer, and Coach Randy. This is going to be amazing. So let's start from the beginning. When did you start playing soccer and just kind of walk me through how you fell in love with the game?
I started playing super young. I was about 2 or 3. My older sister was being coached by my dad on one of those little travel teams that just meets every Saturday. And my older sister hated soccer, so she was just there for the post-game snacks. But I would hop in whenever she got tired. And my dad said from day one, I always just was super competitive and loved the game, which took everyone by surprise because no one else in my family ever played soccer. My mom played sports, but she wasn't the most athletic, and my dad ran cross country in high school, but other than that, neither of them really dipped their toes into any type of D1 program. My older sister runs track and cross country at Yale, so she's also very athletic, and my younger sister's in high school, so she's just on her high school team and club team, but I think that she has potential to go really far. So we don't know where we got our athletic genes, but we're grateful for them. And yeah, so when I was young, I just hopped in on those teams, and then like I said, my parents had no idea how to deal with 3 athletes. But when I hit age 9 or 10 is when they really started to notice that I had some talent and true potential. So they reached out to friends who had daughters on teams and found out the best team in the area at that time. And that was a 2002 team, and I'm a 2003. So I wanted to play with the best. And so I just played up on that team for a few years, and which was tough because I was under 5 feet until my freshman year of high school. So I was super small, and I had to play with all of these girls who were much older than me and way bigger, but it only helped me. But then Jason Cutney, he's the ECNL boys commissioner at the time, at like right now, but at the time he was coaching a 2003 girls team for the Riverhounds Academy, and he contacted my dad and just let my dad know about the ECNL and about his team and how much potential he thought I had, and he really believed in me from the very beginning before even knowing me. He did like little sessions with me when I was way little, like 8, 7 or 8, just through their development RDA academy. But he knew he wanted to coach me on one of his teams, so he really pushed my dad and showed my dad what the ECNL could offer. And by my freshman year of high school and age 14, I was on his team, and that was probably the best decision I ever made. I constantly text him and thank him for convincing my dad to throw me on that team because it changed me for the better. I'd be half the player I am without Jason, and Scott Gibson took over that team after a few years when Jason took the ECNL boys commissioner job. But yeah, I would literally be half of the player I am without him. I'm so grateful that he saw my potential and knew what I could do from the very start. And yeah, the Riverhounds Academy, I played there until I went off to Pitt, but without the ECNL and the Riverhounds, I think it would have been impossible for me to be seen, especially by a coach as prominent as Randy.
That is such an amazing story. And I think it's so cool that you did start really young. Age 2 or 3 is like you're like a little munchkin.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems like you just had this natural progression of falling in love with the sport, and you just had this innate talent, and you were really athletic. And then by the time you got into like middle high school was when you were like, okay, I'm serious about this. And then all these coaches started seeking you out. And when you said the Riverhounds Academy, I couldn't help but smile because I know Mike Whiteman, your performance director, and he does amazing work. And he obviously speaks very highly of you as well. And it's just so awesome to play for an organization like that with all these coaches who are involved in your development, so supportive of you, because it can be such a hard process, especially in recent years. It's so competitive now to get recruited by a school like Pitt. So can you kind of just walk me through how you started the recruiting process? When did you start to narrow down your list? Was Pitt your first choice? Did Randy just kind of like pop into your life? Like, how did this all unfold?
Well, I completely agree. The recruiting process I see with my little sister now. She's only a sophomore, but she'll be a junior next year, so that's when it will all start for her. But it's completely different from when I went through it. I just remember being in seventh grade and going to my first college ID camp, which was insanity. Like I said, I was super small, so I had to make up with it. I had to make up for it with work rate, just running as hard as I can, just trying to be as feisty as I can as a 4'11" little forward. But yeah, I went to my first ID camp in the summer after seventh grade, and then just kept going to those continuously. Joined the Riverhounds, which really helped just being seen with that whole UCNL thing. But I wasn't talking to too many schools, if I'm going to be completely honest. I talked to some ACC schools, a few other schools, but I've talked to my other friends and a lot of my teammates talked to a plethora of schools, and that wasn't my case. Mainly because I think Randy saw me really early in the recruiting process, and I just once I talked to Randy, I knew he was the coach I wanted to play for. He actually came to one of our winter training sessions for Riverhounds, and it was one of his first few months as the coach of the program. And before he was the coach of the program, Pitt was never something I seriously considered just because they were having trouble competing in the ACC, and they definitely weren't one of those top teams then. And I went to some summer camps when I was younger, but other than that, Pitt really wasn't on my radar. But I never really thought about like staying close to home, going far away. It was never those things, and the school were never my priority. I obviously wanted to go to a great university, but my number one thing was that I had to have a good coach. I wanted to play for a good coach and a team that I knew I would feel comfortable on and I would also improve on. I didn't want to spend my 4 years in college just playing soccer. I wanted to spend my 4 years getting better and developing as a person and a player. So that winter training session that Randy came to, only a few months into his job here at Pitt, I don't even remember if it was announced that he was the head coach because uh, my it was kind of like a just kind of like a little secret viewing that he just stopped by our training, and he was actually there to watch a girl who was transferring from one college and looking for others. And Jason Cutney was my coach, and he set that up for that player. And so she just hopped into our training session. But Randy talked to Jason after, and he was like, he obviously gave his thoughts on the player he was there to watch, but he was also like, who's that girl? And he was referring to me, which he tells that story all the time, and it makes me feel really special just because he noticed me when he wasn't there to watch me. There was no hype around any of the players on our team. We were just playing and practicing, and Jason told us that there was going to be a college coach there to watch us, but he never told us who or referred to the school that it was. So I just worked as hard as I worked every other day, and thankfully Randy saw potential in me. But we hopped on a phone call that January and a few more throughout those few months, and then by the spring he offered me, and He was my first offer, and it was just a really special moment because my older sister ran track, but their recruiting process didn't start until later in their high school careers. So I was the first one in my family to ever go through this, and just to hear him talk about the program that he was trying to rebuild and the belief he had in me and the school and everything about that, just to hear him talk to me and my parents about that, it made me feel really special and it made me feel wanted. And talking to Randy on the phone was different than any other coach I had talked to. Like I said, I knew from the first phone call that I wanted to play for him, and I didn't care about the history of the program that he was now coaching. I knew that he did great things at Notre Dame, great things in the pros. So I obviously was aware that he knew what he was doing. But the history of Pitt's program and or lack thereof wasn't really a concern to me because I knew that Randy was going to turn it around. He promised me that I would be part of a team that was going to accomplish great things, and every promise he made, he has delivered on. I mean, clearly.
I'm, like, almost tearing up here because he absolutely, like, over delivered, and obviously you have delivered, the rest of the girls have delivered, and we're gonna get there shortly here, but I just think it's so inspiring for female soccer players listening to this that you don't always have to look around at college programs that are the winning teams or the programs that you think are the best. And I think you kind of took a leap of faith and did the opposite of what a lot of people would do, and that's really focused on a program where you can grow, where you really like the coach, and you're not necessarily worried about them, having a losing record before Randy came in. And I think you put a lot of faith into the program, and you were really focused on your development in college. So let's talk about that. So let's talk about what it's like playing for the team at Pitt, what it's like playing for Randy and the rest of the coaching staff.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. It's incomparable to anything else I've ever been a part of. This from the staff to my teammates to the school and just the program in general, Pitt Athletics. It's just a family. It's a different environment. I'm obviously super close to home, but I don't feel far away at all when I'm there just because of how close we all are. The team is absolutely incredible since day one. I graduated high school a semester early, so I came in with a few other girls in my class, and we were just, it was during COVID, so there wasn't really that whole college experience. We were just trapped in a dorm, and the older girls on the team took us out for dinner when they could and just made us feel super at home. And it was just from day one, it was a family that I was proud to be a part of. But like I said, Randy has delivered on every single thing that he said. We're now not just playing the best teams in the country, which I knew I wanted to do when I committed, but now we're competing with those teams and we know that we can beat them. And it's just a different kind of feeling rebuilding a program and helping to leave a legacy than obviously going into a great program is a whole nother accomplishment in and of itself. But leaving a program that was just starting to be built as something even better is something that I'm going to be forever grateful for.
How would you describe the team culture?
I would say it's great. Like I said, since the first day I've been here, I don't think there's been one problem on the team. Our captains do a great job of making sure everybody's priorities are straight and the standards stay high. Same with the staff instill that competitive nature amongst all of us, but that just makes us better. It never leads to any conflict off the field, but we're constantly competing and training, which just makes us better. I could list every single person on the team, and none of them show up to training not ready to go. I mean, yesterday, we're 3 months into the season. It's really tough and we're all tired, but we're still competing. Like yesterday, we had a little practice PK shootout and we were trash talking each other and just joking around and taking pictures with the sunset after practice. And it's just it's just a happy environment, and the coaches and, like I said, the captains make sure that the vibes and the camaraderie is always high.
I totally get what you're saying with this time of the season. Like things are getting really intense and you are deep into the season. You're tired. You have so many games under your belt and also school's intense and there's like midterms and exams and final projects. It's just crazy. But it's like,
Mhm.
okay, we got to go. We got to get ready for
Yeah.
this weekend. And you guys are in the NCAA tournament and playing Ohio State at home, right?
Mhm.
So that's huge. What are you doing to get ready for this weekend's game?
Um, we're treating it obviously, we know the stakes are high, and every single game now is determines if our season ends or continues. So we know that the stakes are high, but we're not approaching it differently than any other game because every single game we've walked into this season, we've approached with a serious mindset. We haven't overlooked one team, and the coaches have made sure of that. They told us don't look ahead and don't focus on what you've already done because Ohio State, those 90 minutes is or what is going to determine if you go on or if your season ends on Saturday. So they're making sure we stay focused. They obviously are instilling a competitive mindset into us and making sure that we know that Ohio State is going to be a great opponent and we have to show up. Our coaching staff does a great job of scouting the other team. I think that's one thing that really sets them apart from other coaching staff is they really focus on the other team as much as they do with us. They make sure to find their weaknesses where we can exploit other teams, and they let us know how to do that from game to game. Ben Waldrum, Randy's associate head coach, does hours and hours of film on us and on other teams. And I've talked to old teammates from different programs, and they just tell me that's not the case at their schools. And I am seriously grateful that Ben puts in the work that he does, and same with Randy and our other coaches, because it's super helpful for me personally just to be aware of who we're playing and know how to approach those games and who to play, because playing like yourself is super important, but knowing who you're playing is just as important in my mind. And so the coaches are getting us ready, um, just telling us how Ohio State plays and how we're going to have to approach that game. But they're also making sure that we stay calm and poised because that's also important. We don't want to go in frantic. We don't want to go in afraid to make mistakes. We want to play like us and we want to make the game about us, but we also just want to stay aware of what Ohio State does and what they're good at and how we can exploit them.
It seems like collectively you guys are going in over prepared to the weekend, which is great as a team. But individually, for you, you are one of the leading goal scorers with 10 goals, right?
Mhm.
So I know it's a lot of pressure as a forward because people are probably like, oh, well, every game Sarah's got to score. How do you deal with that? And like individually, how do you just kind of stay focused and in the zone and kind of get that pressure off your back?
Um, I think that the pressure on me to score is much lower than one might think. I'm obviously super thankful for the goals I scored and the teammates who set those up for me, but from myself to Samaya Fury, who also has 10 goals, to Amanda West and Landy Mertz and everyone else, I think that we're all capable of scoring. There's not one person on the team who isn't capable of scoring. I mean, we have Ellie Caulfield who can shoot like rockets from 50 yards away. And so whoever has the ball, I think they're a danger in front of the goal. So I'm super confident if one of us doesn't get one in that day, that someone else will. The coaching staff has done an awesome job of just increasing the depth in our roster and making sure that we have players who can come in and sub and be game changers, and just they really have faith in every single one of us, and they're not worried about one person scoring or another person assisting. They know that we can all do that for each other. So that pressure kind of is more minimal than one might think from outside statistics, but when I'm getting ready for the games, scoring isn't really on the front of my mind, just playing like myself is, and my mom always tells me, "Just play like yourself and the goals will come." Just she doesn't know a lot about soccer, but she likes to see me go in calm, so she does her best to help out as she knows she can. But I just like to go into games super poised and super calm. One of the captains, Chloe Minas, is super good at getting the whole rest of the team in the mindsets that they need to be in. And she knows every single person on the team on a personal level, especially me. We're super close. So she can tell if one game maybe I'm a little bit more frantic than usual, and she'll just like share her playlist with me or just be like, "Sarah, do you need to talk? Do you need to calm down? What's going on?" She's the epitome of the perfect captain. So a lot of the times I'll just look to her if I'm feeling a little nervous about a game. But for the most part, I just worry about myself. I do a lot of visualization before the game. I don't really listen to music. My trainer asked me about that the other day, and she was super surprised. She's like, "You just sit in the back of the bus in silence?" I'm like, "Pretty much." It works for me. I have never really been one to need music, but I mean, if I do, it's usually just some simple like Pop Smoke or something like that. But for the most part, I just visualize myself in that game and visualize how our opponent is going to come out and do my best to implement what the coaches want us to do that game and just play like me.
You have any other pregame rituals? I know some players, like, eat the same thing before, have the same, like, hydration drink, or just, like, anything fun that you do?
Um, the only thing I can think of is I have one of my teammates, Katie Zalesky, braid my hair before some of the games, and we just have like a quick little 5-minute conversation, and that always seems to calm my nerves a little bit. But I make sure I eat it. I don't really have a specific pregame meal, but I just make sure I'm fueled and ready to go. If I need to hop on Huddle and watch a few minutes of film or just remind myself of the game plan, I'll do that. But every game is different for me. I just see how I'm feeling that day. I see what the vibes are that day, and I go from there. Like I said, if I need music, I'll turn some on. But if I don't and I just need to stay calm, I'll just sit in the back in silence, get ready to play.
I love that. It's just so interesting to see how everyone prepares. Like, some girls need to be, like, overly stimulated with, like, the
Mhm.
rap music or, like, the EDM, whereas, like, some girls are more introverted and they're like, "I need to sit in a corner and be silent and not talk to anyone." And
Yeah.
just make sure I'm
Very
not, like, getting too stressed.
Just looking around the locker room, you can see what everyone needs, and it's
Yeah.
just especially when I'm not doing anything and I'm just sitting there waiting for the coaches to come in, it's super cool to see what everyone's up to.
Mhm. Yeah, it's, like, on a team that big, there's so many different personalities, so, yeah, it
Yeah,
is really fun to just observe what everyone does, but hey, if that works for them and it's a successful season, then that's totally fine. Everyone stick to what you're doing, don't change anything, especially before this
exactly.
weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
Now let's move on to the fun questions. I actually added a few just because I'm curious, but we're gonna go through these pretty quickly. So it's kind of like
Alright.
a rapid fire round, get to know Sarah a little bit more. So, one word to describe Coach Randy.
Awesome.
That's it. Yeah, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, he's just the best.
What is your favorite lift in the weight room?
Um, I like relative strength stuff. Mike Whiteman does a lot of that, so, I like the chin-ups, the pull-ups, the pistol squats, stuff like that. Um, the heavy lifting, absolute strength is not my forte.
Yeah, I know Mike Whiteman is a big fan of more of the functional movements and not necessarily doing 1 rep maxes all the time, which is,
Mhm.
I think, better for soccer players.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
let's see. Most embarrassing moment of your soccer career?
Um, I actually forgot my cleats to the state final in high school. I forgot my whole soccer bag. And I didn't notice until about 2 hours before. So my parents had to buy cleats on the way to the game.
I feel so many girls that's happened to. It's always like the biggest games. You're just like, "Oh, I forgot my cleats or like my shin guards or I just brought like a left cleat." It's like, "What am I doing?"
It was ridiculous.
But there's always a sports store nearby and you can just go buy a new pair. So, it worked
Yeah,
out. That's good.
no, yeah.
Let's see. What is your favorite team tradition on Pitt?
Uh, a lot of times, right when summer two ends, so preseason, we'll have a movie night on the field watch it on the big screen. Um, and that's just a super special night for all of us because preseason's done. All of that rigorous stress of that comes with preseason is kind of just released when we're all sitting together and just as a team watching a funny movie and like on the field. It's just a super special experience.
I love that. Every team has their cool traditions and just like bonding moments. So that's a really neat idea. I never heard of that. Let's see, Dunkin' or Starbucks?
I actually don't drink coffee, but my little sister loves Starbucks, so I would probably pick Starbucks just to get something for her.
Answer for the sister. So I'm gonna skip the next question because it was pumpkin spice or peppermint mocha. Unless you do like one or the other.
If I had to pick one, probably peppermint, because I love Christmas, but I've never had either. So,
You gotta try it. The peppermint mocha is worth going to Starbucks for.
all right, I will.
All right, let's see. Couple more. Favorite spot for a date night?
Um, I actually barely have time for that part of my life.
Good
I can't
answer.
remember the last time anything like that has been on my mind, but definitely I would rather stay in than go out anywhere. And just like be in pajamas. That's probably my ideal night. Just comfy and relaxed. I'm super tired when it comes to the end of the day. So,
All right, everyone listening. So that is great advice because during soccer season, you do not have a lot of time to go out. You got to stay
no.
focused on your games. Now, with the game this weekend, is it going to be streamed on TV and where can we all tune in?
It's definitely going to be streamed, I think, on ESPN Plus, maybe ACC Network Extra. But it's Saturday at 7 p.m. versus Ohio State. So if you can watch or you can come, that would mean a lot to the team, and it's going to be a great game.
And it's at home. How excited are you for that? First
Oh,
round, like, oh,
yeah,
so good.
that was our main concern when we saw all the games coming out. We were like, please just let us have a home game. We worked so hard, one more game in front of the fans, and for the fifth year seniors and everything, just have one more game at home. It's a really special experience, and we're really excited. We're always great at home too, so that helps.
And I'm sure you have a lot of the other sports teams coming out to watch and support. Are you close with any of the other teams?
I'm personally not too close with any other teams. But a lot of the girls are. Of course, men's soccer is super supportive of us. Same with the wrestling team and the swim and dive team sometimes show up in their speedos, which is super funny. And all of my family when they come to visit love it. But yeah, everyone at Pitt, the whole student athlete community is super close and super supportive of each other. And Pitt athletics is just one big family. So I'm definitely not. I definitely know a lot of them will be at the game, and I'm not worried that they're not going to show up for us because we always show up for them.
It's always so fun when the men's teams come because they like will really like say some ridiculous things to the opposing team.
Oh
And
yeah,
I remember when I was playing in college, they would like do like research on the other girls and like print out the roster and know their names and numbers and then like start like calling them out. Do they do that at your games? Because it gets out of hand.
no, yeah, we have them and they line up. There's like the stands, and then there's a little spot in front for just like the little benches and stuff. And the swimmers will every time the other lineup gets announced after every name, we're just standing and giving like two claps to the other team, and they're screaming "Socks" like super loud after every single name. And we're trying our best not to laugh and smile, but it means a lot when they come out and support us, and it makes the games 10 times more fun.
Well, we are all rooting for you, and everyone be sure to tune in Saturday night at 7 p.m. I will provide any links in the show notes, and just this is going to be an amazing game. The Pitt women's soccer program has really built over the past few years, and they're just so fun to watch. And I think you'll really enjoy tuning in. And Sarah, again, this has been such a great conversation, and just getting to know you and your journey. And I wish you the best of luck the rest of the season. And everyone, I'll see you on next week's episode.